don't know if it's fair to say this or not, but I've got a neighbor that we refer to as Eleanor Rigby for various reasons. 8:02 the time. Welcome to the Mornings with Ed show. It's the all-new voice of Laguna. Delighted to have you with us. Kicking the week off in perfect fashion weather-wise. Absolutely clear and sunny and beautiful and bright. And those words, that description, could be used to describe my guest this morning. The Artist Corner is being brought to you by the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture. And in this morning, wearing sunglasses and wearing them fashionably because the sun is just kicking our butts in the studio here. Genevieve Williams is the director and curator for the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture. And we welcome you this morning. Good morning, Genevieve. How are you?
Good morning, Ed. I'm fantastic. I mean, what an introduction. Thank you.
The only thing missing was a drum roll for you, I think. So how was your weekend?
It was great. I had Sunday was the day of rest, which was nice.
Good.
And then Saturday was a busy day, trip up to LA and then back down to Laguna for the opening of the Laguna Art Museum exhibition, which was beautiful. It was very well attended. They had a panel talk. Great to see a really wonderful crowd there, and yeah, so a good weekend all around.
So your life is really art on top of art on top of art. Even if it's not at the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture, you are going elsewhere to consume art.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Okay. And when you go other places, do you pull in ideas? Do you share ideas with other directors of other museums?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, a really important part of what I do is connecting with other people, collaborating. So anytime I go to an exhibition, I'm learning. Okay. That's a really important component. But also, getting ideas and seeing how other people are doing it, learning about new artists. The panel talk at the Laguna Art Museum on Saturday night, it was celebrating Joan Quinn and her late husband Jack. They were prolific collectors and patrons of the arts from the many decades. Right. So that's really important to show up there and learn from them and see how they've done it and how they've supported the arts. So it's always
in your experience, and I'm taking a whole left turn on our conversation here, but in your experience, do you find that collectors have an artistic background themselves, or are they like me who just love art and would love to collect pieces from others that have the talent?
I think it's a bit of both, but I think a lot of the time they don't necessarily have an artistic background or necessarily artistic bone in their body, but they appreciate the arts. They love artworks that they collect. Me, for instance, I practically can't make art myself, but I admire artists and I collect what I love.
And you mentioned you mentioned coming across new artists. I had a guest on, it may have been 2 weeks ago, who was hoping that more women would be recognized in the art world. Do you find the same thing? Are women overlooked as artists or generally? Can we do more?
I think we can always do more. I think historically, absolutely, women were overlooked. I think it's getting better in the generations that are coming through. One group of artists that I'm really familiar with are the California light and space artists, and if you look at those artists, only a handful are women. You've got Mary Corse, Lita Albuquerque, Helen Pashkin, but they were very much playing in a boys' club. So I historically, yes, I think women were very much overlooked. I would like to think that it's changing now, but there's always more that can be done for sure.
Change can be slow sometimes, painfully so. Okay, and it is. I should mention it is March, and March is important. So
it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about the fact that it was Women's History Month, and I was reflecting on my role and also just Orange County. I was noticing that there's a lot of women in leadership positions in the arts. So you've got Julie and Victoria at the Laguna Art Museum. You've got Heidi Zuckerman at OCMA, Chapman University. They've got women managing the collections there. So I think that's really amazing to think about and to see. I think that's changed from previous decades. I think a lot of men were in leadership
Right.
roles, which,
Even
nothing wrong with that, but...
Right, but even just a couple of decades ago, really, it's just been within the last 20 to maybe 30 years that women have taken a more prominent role in these positions.
Yep. And I think the other thing, I obviously have a young daughter. I have a 1.5-year-old, and looking at those other women in those leadership positions, they're also mothers. So, for me, it's really inspiring to see that that's possible to do.
Right. Well, did you ever find yourself at a disadvantage, maybe during pregnancy when you wanted time off or whatever? Did you find yourself at a disadvantage?
No, I think I really carved out how it was going to work for me. So I actually made the conscious decision to wrap up my role that I was in. So I took a year off. I have to say I'm very fortunate to be able to do that.
Right.
All credit to my husband for making that possible. I think maternity leave in the US definitely is a big issue.
Right.
Coming from Australia, it's very common in Australia. 6 months is like the minimum that people get off. So, yeah, I do think as a female becoming a mum, there are definitely disadvantages in the workplace. So, I was fortunate that I had the support to be able to kind of navigate.
Right, 6 months at a minimum should be. I mean, we're a little behind the times here.
Yeah, and I have to say all credit to the foundation. They've been really incredible in supporting me. When I first started out, I didn't have childcare sorted, so they were very flexible in terms of the hours. I was able to call the shots in terms of when I was coming in. I've now got Lucy in daycare 5 days a week, but I've got to say they've been really wonderful supporting me as a mom.
Okay. And last question I'll ask you before we roll into the exhibition that you've got going now. Lucy's in daycare. Are you seeing any magnificent finger painting? Is there an artistic hope here?
Look, she's making art every day. I'm very impressed, honestly.
Okay, fantastic. Let's talk about the exhibition going on right now at the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture. It's the Tony DeLap exhibition. And I found myself years ago thinking, well, minimalist art, I really, what can it bring me? In seeing the Tony DeLap exhibition, though, it's not minimalism like I would imagine, that most of us would see it as. It is spectacular. Why do I love it so much? What is it about his art that attracts me, the guy who didn't really think minimalism was cool?
I think, Tony's work is, he's been classified as a pioneer of minimalism on the West Coast, and I think he always kind of was a little averse to that. He kind of said, I don't want to make things minimal, I want to make them more complex. He was a magician, which I think was wonderful. So he was inspired by magic and by architecture. I think you see his works and on the surface they look simple, but then as you move around them, you start to see there's different, the canvas is shaped, there's shadows at play, they change, they play with your perception. I think his work is a beautiful introduction to minimalism. I think, every time you look at that one of his works, you see something new. Right. And that's one of the joys of having his exhibition up at the moment. I'm walking in every day and always constantly finding something new about a work.
Right. As I've seen it a couple of times, it is literally breathtaking. Some of the pieces are breathtaking, and you can't not stop and stare. And you mentioned he was a magician, and his techniques are that of an illusionist, and that's what it feels like. Like, wow, an illusionist put that together. And obviously his work is meticulous.
Yeah, the craftsmanship is second to none. I mean, again, you look at these works and you question how he made them and how he made them so beautifully. I think the other interesting thing was one of his preoccupations throughout his career, he was really interested in the edge of the work. So what happens to a painting once you reach that edge? And he continues that edge. Sometimes a lot of works, you'll see them, they get framed. People kind of go, oh, the work stops here. Right. But for him, he was very much interested in the side of the work, and also the wall, the space around the work. Right. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Which brings up my next question, because you as the curator, so far, absolutely magnificent curating of art. And you mentioned something the last time we spoke about allowing an artist's work to breathe on a wall. And I never thought about it, and now I do. And when I see the Tony DeLap exhibition, his work is breathing on the walls. Tell me the process that your mind goes through to allow that to happen with different works that you put on a certain sized wall or a certain facing wall, a sun facing wall or a light facing wall.
Look, I think for this show, there was only one singular work that had a predetermined location. It's the 13-foot painting that we borrowed from Chapman University from the Escalette collection. It is an absolute monster. One of the biggest works I've ever seen of Tony's. So there was only one wall in the foundation that was large enough for that work. Right. It had a window on the wall, so we actually had to drywall and plaster over that window. Right. So it's pretty spectacular in terms of the preparation for a show. So that was the one work that had a predetermined location. And then from there, I think you can go about installing from, a chronological perspective. There's different ways of doing it, but again, I think the process is just to start placing works around the room, seeing how they correspond and talk to one another. And again, letting them breathe and giving them the space. I think the result is that you're walking into this space and it's serene. I've had a lot of people come in and just say it's very calming and it's a Zen kind of space. I didn't go from a chronological plan of attack. I think the Laguna Art Museum also did a retrospective in 2018, which was just done beautifully. So there was I think Tony's work has been done in that scholarly kind of way. So for this show, I just wanted to focus on the beauty of his work and just tried to install it in a way that, was cohesive and celebrated the beauty.
A lot of these works are taken from private collections. Is there an extra sense of burden and responsibility in protecting the works because of that?
Yes. I mean, again, I'll always say that you always feel the burden of responsibility, whether it's an artist's work or whether it's borrowed from a collector. But there's definitely a heightened. That's a big part of. I remember before the show opened, I just said to my husband, I was like, "Wow, I'm feeling the weight of responsibility here because you're not only caring for these works that people own and dearly love, but you're also responsible for showing them in a way that's, giving due respect to the artist and to the work." So there's a lot of different things that you have to think about, but I can't thank the collectors enough. They've been such a joy to work with. They've been so generous, so willing to loan the work, and so trusting. We've been very lucky. I've managed to we've borrowed close to 50 works from Orange County, from Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Florida. It's pretty amazing what can happen.
A lot of phone calls to your insurance broker, right?
We've got insurance.
Make sure we're still covered. Okay.
And I've got to say a shout out to a couple of the collectors. Anna Valverde from New York. She actually sponsored us by paying for shipping. And George Merck from Florida. He also paid for the shipping to the foundation. So that really made the show possible. Right.
And I'm guessing that they trust those shippers. It's why. They're like, you know what, we'll take care of the shipping because we've worked with these people before. Yep. We know they're good. And then you put it in their hands at that point, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. There's a list of fine art shippers that people trust. So
I would imagine that since the last few exhibitions, Tony's included, that you've had, that you've been approached by other artists and hey, take a look at my work. And is that a daily thing for you? And is there a point where you've got your plate full and you know what's happening for the next 2 years maybe?
It's not daily, but it's definitely weekly. Right. And I welcome people approaching me and introducing me to their art. Again, that's what I'm here for. And I'm always eager to learn and to get to know people. We do have the schedule pretty much planned through early 2025.
Okay.
So, we're doing shows that last about 8 weeks in length.
Right.
So the schedule does kind of fill up pretty quickly, but yeah, always open to learning about.
And if there's an occasion where, okay, you say your shows last about 8 weeks, I would imagine that's like the date on a milk carton where, okay, I think that's plenty of time for this show. If you find or you feel demand for a longer run on a show, for instance, the George Dubin show, clearly that needed more time. Not everyone that didn't see it wanted to see it. Do you allow yourself that time to push back another exhibition, or how does that work? How does the scheduling there work?
The scheduling, I think, unfortunately, I've got to be pretty strict on myself because I have made commitments to future shows and to other artists. So in order to, do their shows and give them the justice and have their shows run long enough,
Right.
I unfortunately do have to be kind of strict on the schedule. But I mean, Tony, I would love to extend.
Right.
I would love to just, the time goes quickly and I'm enjoying sitting in the space and looking at his work.
Right.
So unfortunately, I think it is going to have to close as scheduled on the 4th of May, but...
Okay. And there will be, before it closes, there's a panel discussion?
Yeah, so I'm in the midst of planning that at the moment. I don't have a date, but it will be happening in April sometime, probably towards the end of April. It's just going to be a relaxed kind of in conversation with hopefully Malcolm Warner, who was the previous director of the Laguna Art Museum. He curated the retrospective for Tony in 2018 and was also a dear friend of Tony's. It'll also have Tom Dowling, who's an amazing artist and a good friend of Tony. He was his studio assistant for a number of years. And then Mike McGee, who's an amazing curator and professor at Fullerton. He runs the gallery there. So it's just meant to be a kind of in conversation about Tony's life, his legacy, from those that knew him best.
Right. And you've spoken to Malcolm and Tom and obviously Peter, all three who knew Tony very well during his life. What have you learned about Tony?
I think unfortunately I never got to really know Tony, but the stories that I've heard about him have been endless. And it seems like to know Tony was to know a gentleman. He was a prolific artist, but he was also a teacher. He was a mentor. He was a friend. He was a family man. He's one of those artists that's straight from the history books. He worked 70 out of his 90 years. He was so committed to his practice. He was on the founding faculty for UC Irvine. He started with them in 1965 and worked with them till 1991, so 26 years. He just was an incredible man and an incredible artist. So I would have really loved to have gotten to know him better.
Beautifully stated. And when the exhibition leaves, first week of May, it's gone. You said May 4th? Mm-hmm. Okay. When it's gone, what's next? Can we get a little preview as to what's next?
Yeah, so the next show is going to be Joe Good, who was another artist. He's another artist based up in Los Angeles, again from that same kind of group that Tony was from, a very historic California artist. So his show is going to open, I think it's the 18th of May, and then that'll go through July. Okay,
that doesn't leave a lot of space to actually to hang the art, if you will, right?
No, I'm very ambitious with my schedule. We have an incredible preparator, Brian, who's helping me with install and de-install. But yeah, it's kind of leaving a 2-week space there to take down Tony's show and then put up the next one. Right. So it's a little ambitious. I may be doing some wiggle room there with the schedule, but I think with Tony's show, taking that down, again, because we've borrowed nearly 50 works, there's going to be a lot of logistics involved in bringing everything down, getting them packed, and then organizing return to the collectors. So
I'm barking out to the audience right now. If you haven't seen this amazing exhibition, you need to check it out. It's at the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture. It's 298 Broadway. And once it's gone, it's gone. Mm-hmm. I think that before I let you go, The rest of the year, you said you've got exhibitions coming up until early 2025. Other events taking place that you can tell us about, maybe?
So we've recently the foundation's become a member of the Laguna Beach Arts Alliance, which is a non-profit organization that represents the arts in Laguna. So I've had the fortune of really kind of immersing myself in the community here in Laguna Beach and getting to know lots of different wonderful people. So I've been having quite a few conversations with Jay Colwell, who is Pacific Vocal Series, a non-profit opera group. Hoping to do some performances with him in the space. Laguna Beach Live, hopefully want to come in July to do a performance. So yeah, I think in between the exhibitions, we're really trying to do some, programming that's interesting to the community.
Right. Magnificent work. We'll look forward to having you back. This is always
you.
Delightful. Genevieve Williams, curator and director of the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture, the Tony DeLap exhibition going on now through May 4th. And is it daily? Is it Thursday through Sunday?
It's 5 days a week. It's Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay. We'll look forward to seeing you there. All right. Thank you very much, Genevieve. We appreciate you being here. 8:23 the time. It's the Mornings with Ed show on the all-new Voice of Laguna. That was this morning's Artist Corner, brought to you by the folks at the Honarkar Foundation for Arts and Culture, raising the bar of the art that we see.